Thank you.
Take it away.
Good afternoon. As John said, my name is Jessica Rich, and I am from North Carolina. Although I know that I'm here in the South, I know that I have an accent that you may not be quite familiar with. And I've been recently looking at reality shows that tend to feature Southerners, and it took me a while to realize this, but there are subtitles at the bottom of the screen. And that's when I realized there are some people out there that can't speak Southern. And that means that I'm bilingual because I understand everything they're saying. So if there is at any point a time today that you can't understand what I'm saying, raise your hand and I'll try to enunciate and slow down. But I do talk fast, which complicates matters. But today we're going to be talking about GCF Learnfree. Most of today's session is going to be kind of a tour of the website. We're going to really talk a lot about the different resources available at GCF Learnfree. At the end, or kind of close to the end in the middle, we're going to talk about the types of people that use GCF Learnfree, the types of organizations that use GCF Learnfree, why they use GCF Learnfree. We're going to talk about some ways that you can use GCF Learnfree, and then the reason that you have computers in front of you is for the last 20 minutes or so, I invite you to start exploring GCF Learnfree, the website, for you to look at some of the things that we might have talked about as we go through today. If there's something, because we'll be going through stuff really quickly, I have about 113 slides. So jot something down if it really, I want to look at that later. And then that last 20 minutes will be an opportunity for you to explore that. It'll obviously also be a time to ask questions, although we will certainly pause to ask questions throughout today's presentation. So just by a raise of hands, is there anybody here that's already very familiar with GCF Learnfree? All right, great. That's wonderful. Well, today, hopefully, there'll still be information that'll be useful to you. There's always stuff that we're adding to the site. There's always new content. You may come away with some new ideas on how to use GCF Learnfree with the people you serve. So the rest of you maybe have never heard of GCF Learnfree. This is a whole brand new concept. Okay. Well, then there'll be a lot of new information for you then. This is a question that is on one of the surveys. I think you have two surveys in front of you. But one of the ones that's kind of on the short sheet already kind of asks the question, what do you hope to get out of this session? And if you haven't already completed that, I want you to make sure you take a moment right now. Whenever we read descriptions of sessions when we're at conferences, we choose to go to that session because we had expectations based on that description. We wanted something specific out of that session. And so we went, and then at least I have gone, and then I didn't really get what I was looking for from the session. Either I misread the description or the description overpromised, or something like that. And so I want to make sure you write that down, really think about it right now, and then at the end of today's session, if I haven't given you what you were looking for, let me know. Ask those questions. I want to make sure that you leave today having all of those questions answered. So, a little bit about who we are first before we dive deep into all the things that we offer. There's one thing that we have to get out of the way first, and this is that everything I talk about today is 100% completely free, no strings, no catch. Every time I do a presentation, I do a webinar, inevitably at some point during the presentation, somebody will say, well, is this free too? Yes, everything is free that we're going to be talking about today. As John mentioned, I'm with GCF Learnfree, which is a program of Goodwill Industries of Eastern North Carolina. And even though it's a program based in Eastern North Carolina, we serve people around the country, around the world. Many Goodwills have different types of programs, and this is the program that my Goodwill chooses to serve its mission. And our mission is to create opportunities for a better life with a focus on technology, reading, and math. A large part of what we're going to talk about today when we're doing kind of the tour of the site is really going to focus on technology. Most of the resources that we offer are in technology. Probably those several people that use GCF Learnfree probably use us for our technology tutorials. But we're going to talk about our reading, our math. We have programs also in work and career, as well as a program called Everyday Life, and we're going to talk about all of that and more. So I mentioned, we're based in Eastern North Carolina, and we've been around for about a decade. We originally started out actually teaching people in physical locations around Eastern North Carolina. And over maybe about 5-7 years' time, we served about 10,000 people. Well, going online changes things. So just last year, we served 7 million people around the world, and we're on track for serving 30 million this year. And John mentioned, so I oversee marketing, which means I am marketing. And anybody that works in nonprofits knows that, you wear about 5 different hats. And I'm it as far as marketing, as far as getting the word out. I come to conferences like this. We have social media, but there's really not a lot of a budget behind it. So it's really based on people like you going out, talking to the people you serve, word of mouth, Google search, things like that. That's really how we've grown over the years. We're going to talk about 2 different types of content today, the bulk of which is our self-paced content. That is where we have the largest number of our resources. It's probably how a lot of you already know about us. But then we're also going to talk about our online class program, which is different but very unique, and I think you'll be excited about it. So let's talk about the self-paced curriculum. You can see there we've got a large number of tutorials under our self-paced curriculum. What it is exactly what it sounds like. It's truly self-paced. You go in and look for a topic that you're interested in learning. You dive in as little or as deep as you want to. If you're looking for a quick answer to a quick question, you can get that and bounce out of the site. Never visit us again. No strings attached. You don't have to create an account to access our website. You never have to sign in. That's a huge difference for a lot of sites that are usually going to prompt you to start creating an account pretty quickly. You can, of course, create the account if you would like to then track your progress as you go through, and lots of our learners do that. They're able to then check off all of the lessons in a tutorial, take the quiz at the end, print off a transcript, provide that perhaps to an employer or something like that to let them know that they are actually doing some self-motivated learning on their own time. This is what our homepage looks like. Again, the reason that, these computers, if you want to go ahead and go to GCF Learnfree and go along with me, that's certainly fine as well. We'll be going through things really quickly, so you might not be able to look at stuff as I'm talking about it. But you can see here, again, that focus on technology, reading, and math. We also have the work and career. We also have the everyday life program. If you already have a topic in your head and you're interested in, you'll probably be able to find it over those different topics. You can use our search feature at the bottom of every page on the site. So if you know very specifically that I need to know how to go, how do I do mail merge in Word 2010, then you can search for that. It will immediately take you to that lesson. But if you just want to browse, all topics, going to our all topics is a great place to start. As you browse our all topics page, you may see that there are a number of topics. This is actually not even an updated screenshot because we just added 50 at the beginning of July. So in your spare time, or again later today, if you want to just go through and look at the things that I won't even talk about during today's presentation, then I certainly invite you to do so. So as I mentioned before, our technology program is really how most people know us, especially our technology basics. We have things about computer basics, we have the email basics, Internet 101 and browsers. We have operating systems. We just added Linux in the last year, online safety, and we keep things up to date, or we really try to anyway. As fast as technology moves, we can't always stay on top of it. But Windows 10 launched last week. We have a Windows 10 tutorial. So that is something that people know about us. They know that we work to keep things up to date. They know that we're a reliable source of information. And so that's something to keep in mind whenever you have a question about a piece of technology. So this is an example of a self-paced tutorial, Computer Basics. And Computer Basics is actually our top tutorial. You can see here the tiles kind of have bits of information, some graphics on here that lets you know some additional information. So we have the bulleted list here that lets you know what's involved in that particular lesson, to let you know if that's the lesson that you're looking for. Once you click on that lesson, you can see that within our self-paced curriculum, we really work to address all of the different learning styles. We know that people learn differently. And so we try to address that through presenting things like video tutorials, interactives, graphics, infographics, things like that. And so interactives. So you'll see that scattered throughout our website, through our self-paced curriculum, as well as on our online classes. So here you see an example of, we've got a video tutorial, we have kind of informational graphic. Our interactives are really great for those hands-on learners, and that's something that we're really increasingly looking at, is really adding more interactives to our site based on feedback from people like you that say that that's something that's very beneficial to your learners, that they like the hands-on experience. So going back to the kind of tutorial view, looking at these different lesson tiles, you see the kind of TV icon letting you know that there's a video tutorial associated with that particular lesson. You can click on that, it lets you know what video that is. You can click right here, start looking at the video immediately without diving into the lesson. If you have learners that prefer using video tutorials, and we know a lot of learners do, then you can actually click on the kind of video view for the entire tutorial and only look at just videos that are associated with the tutorial, if that's a preferred way of learning. Now, I will stop for a moment just to say that our videos are YouTube embeds, okay? And I only address this because there are still several organizations that block YouTube. I don't know if this is your organization, an organization in your community, schools in your community. If this is the case for you or anybody that you know, anybody that you work with, we have an offline site, okay? Anybody that blocks YouTube, if you're in rural areas and maybe internet is unreliable, maybe you work with prisons and the internet is not available at all, then we have an offline version. This is a way to obviously access the content exactly the way it appears online, just without the need for internet access. And I will send you a link to be able to then download the zip files of the tutorials. If that doesn't work for you, again, if you don't have internet or if it's truly unreliable and the files are quite large, then I can also send you a zip drive of the entire website and ship it to you. And yes, this is free too. But just very quickly rounding out the kind of technology basics, we have a mouse tutorial, again, an interactive, for those people that are just new to computers, they're new to technology, they are anxious around the hardware, they're intimidated by it, and they don't even want to touch it. And so if this is true for anybody that you serve, being able to point them in the direction of the mouse tutorial may be a great way to start. The typing tutorial, again, is great for beginner computer users, but there are plenty of people, there's actually 2 people that I work with that still don't know how to touch type. And you may know people, there may be some of you in the room, I don't know, that don't know how to touch type. And we know that that's a skill that's needed if you're going to get an office type position. And so if this is, if it's the people that you serve, if they're beginner computer users, if they are looking to get a job, maybe transition from a blue collar to a white collar type office type environment, then this would be a great place for them to start, to be able to gain those skills, put it on their resume, hopefully get employed. Again, I mentioned earlier that we have the Internet 101, Internet Basics. We have Internet Safety as well, Internet Safety for Kids tutorial, which is slightly different because there are different threats that children face as opposed to adults when they are online. So these are all things that kind of round out our Technology Basics program. We have another program within our technology portion called Living in the Online World, and this focuses more on some intermediate type skills, but really more into the skills that we all use in our everyday lives that sometimes we can take for granted, that some people don't know how to do. But then maybe no matter how tech savvy you are, nobody knows everything. So this is actually one of the newer ones that we just added in the beginning of July, and I'm really excited about this. This is based on, again, that learner feedback. Just there's so many devices out there, and what device is right for me, for my needs? What should I get? Is a tablet going to be enough for me? There are a lot of those type questions, and so for some people, a laptop is going to be a better choice if they're going to be writing documents and creating things, but maybe a tablet is enough. And so being able to kind of ask those questions before they spent way too much money to get the device that they really need. This is a fun one too. So again, we're talking about no matter how educated you are and tech savvy you are, there are still things that you just don't know. There's plenty of things I don't know. And I always think about, I have friends that are college educated and intelligent and bright, and they, almost embarrassed, asked me, so I have Netflix on my computer, but how do I get it on my TV? And it's one of those things that you just kind of almost take for granted if you know it, but then if you don't know it, you don't want to ask. You're just like, how can I do this without letting people know that I don't know? So we have that kind of type of stuff. Streaming, the sharing economy with Uber and Airbnb and things like that. And so this is getting more into that, just using technology. Technology is so much a part of our everyday life, every moment. Being able to use it effectively, being able to use it to save time, save money, that's really what this particular tutorial is about. Our social media tutorials are very popular, especially Facebook 101. This is useful for lots of people, not only in their personal lives, but sometimes even for work, especially for LinkedIn and maybe creating a Twitter presence in their professional lives and things like that. So if this is something that's relevant for the people that you're working with, then that's something to point them in the direction of. And then this is really good too, as far as just letting people know that they might not necessarily need to purchase Microsoft Office. They may be able to get what they need through Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets. A lot of people just don't even know that or Open Office and things like that. There are other open source cloud-based kind of type resources available to them. So just making people aware of those resources as well. We have several different device tutorials. We have iPad, iPhone, Android. Again, this is helpful for anybody when you purchase a new device, when you get one as a gift at Christmas, things like that. This is a great place to look, and again, we really work to try to keep this one up to date as well. Android's difficult, but we work hard. And then again, based on learner feedback, this is something that we just added in the last year, our Photoshop Basics, image editing. This is kind of getting more into that kind of intermediate type level stuff, but this could be something that might be relevant for people that have seen that they need to know how to do Photoshop in a job ad. It's not terribly intuitive to start out with Photoshop, and so we really try to get somebody started with Photoshop. Once they've taken our basics course, then there are a lot of other resources available out there to continue them on their path of learning Photoshop. But we felt that there was really a void in helping someone just navigate the whole Photoshop interface for anybody who's ever used Photoshop. After computer basics, our most popular tutorials are definitely our Microsoft Office tutorials, and that's most likely how many of you that said that you were aware of GCF Learnfree, you know of us. The focus is typically on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. We do have Publisher and Outlook in several different versions. But this is a really great tutorial for anyone that is just starting out. They've maybe never used Excel or PowerPoint. It takes them all the way through very basic type skill level, and then maybe through to intermediate. What we typically say is that we cover 90% of the tasks that most people are going to have to use in a day-to-day type office environment. We don't cover what we consider more slightly advanced, like macros and things like that. But we will cover most of the things that people will need to be able to get an office type job. See here, just again, another example of what our self-paced tutorials look like. You can see that this one very similar to the one that I showed you before with computer basics. And again, getting that quick answer to that quick question, if you haven't used something in Microsoft Word for a while, you're like, I've got to put a footer in this document, how do I do a footer? Being able to just very quickly go to that lesson, get that answer, and then be able to move on with your day. Excel Formulas is a tutorial that we added about 1.5 years ago, again based on learner feedback, and this one has a lot of interactives in it that I think you would really like. Jot that one down if you feel that that's at all relevant to you or the people that you serve, to be able to check that out later in today's presentation. But again, people were using our Excel tutorial, but then they were still struggling with, you can teach someone how to do a formula, but then maybe they're not able to quite understand the situation where then they would need to apply that information, being able to make that connection. They can understand how to do a formula, but when they're presented with a situation, they don't know how to take this information and then be able to put it into action. So that's really what the Excel formulas focus is really being able to make those connections. All right, that was a lot of talking. Does anybody have any questions specifically about our technology program before I move on to the next bit? Yes, sir.
Who develops the tutorials?
The curriculum team. So everything is in-house. We have six instructional designers currently. That includes 3 screencaster, 1 writer, and then 2 leads. We have, 160 topics currently. Our total number of staff is 15. So, yes, ma'am?
So, when you do the updates, did you do the updates for your Spanish version of it as well?
Well, I'm going to get to that, but I'll go ahead and answer that. So the question was about our Spanish version and doing updates for that. The Spanish version is gcfapprendelibre.org. That is actually done by our sister team down in Bogota, Colombia. And so they actually create the content. It is not direct translations of our content. So they're responsible for creation as well as updates and things like that. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I was saying earlier.
Yeah, and you'll see slight differences. You'll see that they cover many of the same topics that we do, but they're a lot younger than we are. We've been around for 10 years. They've only been around for 5, and so they have less content. And then they also tend to focus sometimes they'll focus on different topics as well, because they are trying to create content that they feel is most important to the Latin community. And so where we tended to go iPad and iPhone first, they definitely went Android first. You know, things like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I use both English and Spanish because tell them, look, you learn how to use a keyboard and the mouse. Now you can do this at home, so you don't have time to do it at night. So yeah, I'm always doing this business. Continue, it's free, it's at home. But the Spanish is really, really, really helpful in the community that I work, which is South Texas.
Right.
And the Spanish is really impressed because they'll feel very comfortable with it. And there's like a YouTube, like, okay, this is from Spain. And they are able to like, oh, yeah, okay, so Spain.
Yeah.
So very international. But they understand that the Spanish is not going to be maybe something they're familiar with.
Right.
And like, because Spanish is different.
Right. So it's specifically, they tend to, and they've run into that because it is Colombia. And so it's a slight different than if it's Mexico or maybe other parts of Central America, wildly different than Spain. Yeah.
As far as when the tutorial itself, the self-paced, it's comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy, it's very detailed, so they don't, especially for just starting, which is most of the time is your older adults that I work with.
Uh-huh.
And they're able, so there's a process, but because we can only do so much in the library.
Sure.
We cannot have 6 weeks of intensive and this librarians that we do the introduction, but my introductions include the here 2 or 3 resources because I don't want to.
Right.
One of them is always, and sometimes I even when I started doing this, I first went to Learnfree and pretty much set up my own little presentation and teaching because it's so easy, and then I just think, okay, I'm going to use this, including some of these. The videos in Spanish are like right on target.
Good.
So
Good.
I edited my presentation.
Wait, I'm gonna have to bring you up later, and you'll be my little. When we get to that part of how people use this, I'll just let you, and you'll be my case study, and I have a live in-person case study right here.
So yeah, I think it's so useful.
Good. Well, I all of that. I love all of it. Any other questions before moving on? All right. If you think of something later, let me know. It's fine. All right. Well, we're going to move on to talk very briefly about our work and career tutorials. I don't know if this is something, the description on the session was computer literacy. And so I would imagine that that's why several of you are here, because that was something that you were looking to get. But we do have work and career tutorials if that is something that is relevant for the people that you serve. This is something that can be as kind of introductory as completing a job application, but something that getting even into cover letters and interviewing skills and things of that nature. Our most popular of this particular program is our resume writing tutorial, and the reason that this is so popular is specifically because of our resume gallery. And this makes sense. If you've never created a resume, then you don't know what one looks like. You can't even imagine what you're supposed to put in it. You don't know how to format a resume. And so being able to just look at one, be able to get an idea of what is expected of you, it can really help build somebody's confidence that, okay, well, I can do this. I can create a resume as well. And this is always interesting to me too, to kind of just think. This is a really great case study in how much technology really has seeped into our everyday life. So you want to apply for a job, and you've never created a resume before. So now you know what one looks like. But now you're going to have to go to Microsoft Word to be able to start creating that resume. But if you're not very familiar with Microsoft Word, the formatting can be kind of crazy. So now you're going to maybe have to look at a tutorial or something to be able to determine how to format something. Okay, well, now you have a resume, you have this file, now you're ready to send it off to the employer. Well, there's two ways you might be able to do that. You might be able to email it. Do you have an email address? Do you have an email account? Do you need to create an email account? Do you know how to attach a file to be able to send it to the employer? And if that's not the case, then you're going to maybe be on some kind of online form completing the different fields. Now you need to know how to upload a file, be able to search for it within your computer. That's a lot of tech. Those are a lot of different tech steps that can make anybody who's not comfortable with technology stumble at every step. And so here are a variety of different tutorials that can help somebody in every single one of those steps. If that is something that you're encountering with the people that you serve, that maybe they don't know how to upload a file, they don't know how to attach a file to an email, they don't know how to create a resume, they don't know how to use Microsoft Word, then this is a great resource for you. And again, talking about the kind of 21st century skills that are needed in the workplace, if maybe you're working with people that have been out of the workforce for some time for whatever reason, or perhaps they've recently been laid off from a job they've had for decades. The last time they looked for a job, they probably opened up the want ads. Now, you're going to have to go online. You're going to have to worry about your personal brand. Did you say something not terribly appropriate online? And maybe you need to make sure that your online brand looks good. Social media sites are cleaned up. Do you need to create a LinkedIn account? You have to start worrying about networking and all of this. In the last 5-7 years, looking for a job is wildly different. And anybody that's looking for a job now, there's a lot of different pitfalls that they're going to have to navigate. So being able to help those people navigate all of those changes is something that we're really trying to respond to. We have a money portion under our work and career, which is kind of a weird fit, but it doesn't really fit anywhere else. I guess the idea is, well, when you make money from your job, yeah. So the online money tips is something part of that new group that we just launched in the beginning of July. And again, this is really more that kind of technology side of things. So making sure that you're staying safe online, that your finances are secure. A lot of people may be too intimidated to ever go to do anything online banking, and they're still driving to the bank, they're still doing things in person. And so to make sure that they know that this is something that can help save time, maybe even save money, and to let them know that they can navigate these waters, to make sure that they are aware of the options available to them once they become comfortable with the technology around it. We got a lot of requests for a number of years for Quickbooks. Again, I think people read job descriptions, and Quickbooks is often something that's listed as a skill that they need. And we gave it a lot of thought, and we finally decided that we are not accountants and we are not experts in QuickBooks. And there are already a lot of existing QuickBooks resources out there. And so what we actually did was we gathered the best of the resources that we found that were already available and just created something like this called a resource tutorial. We did that for QuickBooks as well as GED prep. Again, something that was requested for a number of years from us, but there are already so many existing resources. You guys probably actually know more resources than we do. But this is something that we wanted to at least respond to learner requests, let them know that we were listening, even if we weren't going to create the resources for them, to let them know that there were existing resources and just put them in contact with those other resources available. So, what questions do we have about our work and career portion, if any? Really, you don't have to ask questions. It's mostly so I can take a sip of water.
Well, I'm just going to mention that sometimes what people need for the job is very specific to their needs.
Right.
So first thing you do, like Quickbooks, we get that question.
Mm-hmm.
I get that question often enough. Not all the time, but as long as there's a need, because that person is desperate. They're asking me, I want to do this, and I really want to know, why don't you guys do this?
Right.
You're only the second person in 6 months that asked about it.
Right.
Because so when we say no, but when we say that, you know what, and then tell them to go to, we know about this source, and sometimes it's something they don't know, or we tell them to go to our electronic resources, the main page. If you go here, you'll be able to see, for example, Learnfree. We tell them go here. They have lots of tutorials, pick exactly what you need, and sometimes it's all they need. They just don't know what to do.
Right, don't even know where to start.
Yes, and it's free. Yes, it's not doing a Google search.
Right.
It's not doing a Google search. Go, I try that, and free tutorials online. It's very confusing. Okay, so just really go to the library site, go to resources, and here is where you're going to find. We have a list. We've done the research, just like you said.
Right.
We've selected what we
kind of vetted it, and yeah.
It's going to help with the needs of a community based on what we're being constantly asked for. And that has been one of the best ways to get them into beyond the basic computer.
Right.
Look, well, go here, do this, go down. Oh, I didn't know that. Or I show them. I love to teach. I'm going to show you. And you're here, you go here, and specifically you don't have to register, and it's free. It's free, yes.
They're like, is it really free?
Yeah.
I know that, again, the listing was for computer literacy. Interestingly, I'm at a literacy conference, and we do actually have a literacy program in the traditional sense. And the focus here back in 2007 when we first created this program was for adult native English speakers who struggled with adult literacy. The focus is on 1,000 of the most commonly used English words. Back in 2007, we really didn't find a lot of resources online for adults. It's probably changed since then. But we found a lot of K through 5 kind of type resources. We found a lot of ESL resources. But we really didn't find adult resources that really treated them as adults, that really spoke to them using the language that they use in everyday life. It didn't speak down to them. Also, some of the resources we found, the best of the resources, were really kind of quite dry, honestly. And so we really wanted to find something that was much more hands-on, much more engaging. So the focus was on creating those kind of interactives, creating the reading activities. You can see through our word videos, again, a focus on making sure that we're addressing all the different learning styles, being able to see the word, hear the word, see images connected to that word. We have kind of fun games like our little blast off where the little guy's got a jetpack on and he's trying to find the word to complete the sentence. And this is a moment where I'll say that, again, this program is created for adults. Now, certainly we have people that use it for younger populations, and that is absolutely fine. I will, however, say that because it's created for adults, there are some references to things like alcohol or smoking or something like that. So I would just encourage you that if you do work with any younger populations and you would like to use the reading program or even our math program that I'll talk about in a few moments, to just look at it first and just make sure that you're okay with it, you feel that it's appropriate for the age population that you're working with. So we had launched our reading program and we quickly discovered that it was actually being used by a lot of ESL. And that's fine. We just wanted to try to figure out a way that we could make it easier on them. And so what we did was we took 7 of the most popular languages of the visitors to our site and kind of created portals in their own native language to kind of talk about instructions and how to actually use the activities, kind of a help menu and things like that. And then after that, they're immediately immersed into the reading activities that we had already designed for the native English speakers. This is not going to be a program for people that are only just now learning English. This is going to be best for anyone who already has a pretty solid foundation of English and maybe just wants to practice vocabulary. That's really going to be the best candidate for this particular program. We recently added, well, it's been 2 years ago now, the grammar program. Again, this is based on learner feedback, people and service providers too, wanting to have some resources on grammar. All you have to do is spend about 2 seconds on the internet to know that this is deeply, deeply needed. And so I would encourage you at the end of today's session, when you have an opportunity to poke around, to look at our grammar, especially our grammar videos. They're quite fun. Well, we had a lot of fun with them anyway. I think they're really crazy and funny. You may think they're really weird, but we had a lot of fun. Our videographers on staff with the stop motion and being able to kind of present some information that is at least memorable, if not funny. Again, the focus on interactives. Again, this kind of quirky kind of interactive talking about homophones. So again, when we get a chance at the end, if you get a moment to look at the grammar, I think that that'll be interesting to you. So any questions about our reading program? Our Everyday Life program is different than anything else on our site. The focus here is on functional literacy, okay? The idea is that there are plenty of people in the world that struggle with the day-to-day tasks that you and I may take for granted. Being able to provide them with an opportunity to be able to practice these skills privately, in their own home or with a service provider, to be able to go through the steps with no consequences, no real world consequences, being able to build that confidence that they can do it, and then once they are confident, being able to go out into the real world and be able to replicate this task, knowing that they can do it and feeling confident. So the interactives, hand-drawn, you're seeing the instructions written, you're hearing the instructions. Because of that, it's also actually pretty widely used by ESL as well, because many of our ESL learners already perhaps know how to do these tasks in their native country, in their native language, but now they're able to practice it hearing the English words that are associated with that task. But this is something that I would encourage you to, again today, because it's really kind of honestly hard to describe unless you've actually gone through it and have actually tried out the interactives. And you may find populations in your community that can use it. We find that it's very popular with disabled individuals, individuals with autism. I already mentioned the ESL, ELL, children even. Learning to follow a recipe or telling time or to mix, how to read a subway map or how to use a bus map. Those are things that can certainly be relevant for younger populations as well. So any questions about our Everyday Life program? It's kind of crazy, but it's when you take a look at it later on this afternoon, let me know if you have any questions about it. All right. And finally, our math program. The focus here is typically on basic skills, as you can see. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We recently added the algebra topic, again, based on learner feedback. This is going to be for, again, the focus is adults, for probably adults that have learned the concept years ago, but it's been a long time since they've had to, put these things into practice. I don't know about you, but I haven't multiplied fractions in a while. So once we've learned it a long time ago, but it just, it goes out of your brain if you forget it. I know we've got a lot of parents that maybe are trying to help their children with homework, and then they look at it and it's like, I know that I know this, but I can't remember it. Being able to kind of refresh your own memory. We also have learners that have to take tests that are actually math assessments to be able to get employment. And so they've been able to take our tutorials to, again, refresh their memory, being able to figure out, again, decimals, percents. That might be something that might be relevant to that job. We really try again to focus on all the different types of learning styles, recognizing especially math can be quite an abstract concept. So being able to try to put it into visual terms, being able to put it in everyday conversation, that things that they would be relevant to them in their everyday lives. So trying to teach math visually as well as with a lot of interactive. So you see that the concept up at the top of the page, and then you're actually able to put it into practice right there on the same page. Being able to get that instant feedback that, okay, I learned it, now I practiced it, I understand it. So kind of almost like a math workbook that talks back to you. The algebra topics, as I mentioned, something that we've recently added. The interesting thing about math in general online is that Khan Academy's really got this wrapped up. There really isn't a reason for us to do a lot of advanced math kind of type stuff. But we have very loyal users, which we love, and they get kind of used to our approach. And so I think that's why they especially asked for us to do something, even though it exists already out on the internet. But one thing that we found with algebra that nobody else really seemed to be doing very well was word problems. And so this is something that we've really focused on in our algebra tutorial, is those word problems. Honestly, this actually made me understand word problems a little bit better. It was presented in a different way than I had been taught, and I mean, I completed calculus, etc. But this is like, oh, okay. And so anybody that maybe is preparing for their GED, any kind of test that's going to require the word problem aspect of a test, this may help them prepare for that particular assessment. So any questions about our math program? Okay, so that is our self-paced curriculum. As I said, it's really the bulk of what we do, and so obviously it's the bulk of what I've talked about today. And as I said, it's very self-explanatory, being able to really go at your own, to use it as little or as much as you would like to. We really don't get a lot of feedback, interestingly, because you don't have to create an account with us. And so there are no strings attached, and you can just go in and have learned something and had a really positive experience, and we'll maybe never hear about it. But we do get feedback from time to time. We get it through our social media accounts. We get it through support tickets, through people just contacting us. And we actually get a good number of these nice tutorials almost daily. Just people of their own volition that just felt that they needed to reach out and let us know the difference that GCF Learnfree has made. So, are there any questions about the self-paced curriculum in general before we talk about the online class program? Yes, ma'am?
There are a couple topics I went to, and it has the Loch Ness.
You got the 404. That stinks. I'm gonna my development team. If you refresh, it should go away. Did you try refreshing? Did it go away?
I try refreshing. I just wondered if maybe they were being updated or would they come back?
No. Which ones were you clicking on?
Good at math and ebooks.
Ebooks should have had. Good at math is kind of. It's. Well, actually, both of them should have popped up fine. We have certain ones that are always problem children, but neither of those are on my bad list. But typically refreshing should do it, but yeah, unfortunately, you don't necessarily, you just think something's wrong with it. You don't know necessarily to refresh it. It's a caching issue. I'm sorry. So our online class program. Our online class program is actually quite different than our self-paced curriculum in a number of ways, okay? First of all, the focus is only on Microsoft Office. The 9 classes are in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access for Office 2010 and Office 2013, as well as an Excel formulas class. One of the big ways that it is different is that it is accredited. It's accredited by the International Association of Continuing Education and Training. And because it's accredited, what that means is that it offers anyone who completes the class successfully a CEU and a certificate. One of the other ways that our online classes are different is that is the only thing on our site that absolutely requires an account. You have to create an account to be able to register for a class. I'm going to walk you through the account creation process as well as the registration process to make sure that you know how to do it. So then if you are helping a learner through that process, you'll know what's going on, you'll know what to expect. There are assignments that are actually required. 3 assignments. They also have deadlines, and we're going to talk about that. And there are actual real-life instructors on the other end of the screen that are grading these assignments, giving learners feedback, talking with them in the message center so students can actually go back and forth with their instructors. So this is quite different than our self-paced curriculum, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. But before we do, okay. Say what? See, somebody, they're like, but this really isn't free, right? So if you go to our online class program, you can access that at the bottom of every page on our website. You'll see there the classes that we currently offer. It kind of gives you a brief overview of the information. Okay, I've decided I'm interested in this. I want to find out more. I'd like to maybe try to sign up for Word 2013. Click on that. It lets you know the requirements of the class. One thing that I will let you know is that you will have to have access to Microsoft Office to be able to complete this class because the assignments that you will be completing will be in that particular software. But at no point are we encouraging people to purchase Microsoft Office. Many of our learners use libraries, other public computer labs to be able to complete their assignments, to submit their assignments. So, okay, I've decided I'd like to take this class. I'm going to try to register. If I already have an account, it's just as simple as going ahead and signing in. If, however, you have not created an account, it'll prompt you to do that. As you can see, we're not really asking a lot of information. Username, email address, password, country of residence, and you're ready. We're not interested in giving anybody any excuse to leave. We're not asking you demographics, we're not asking you personal information. We need your email address so that we will be able to send you reminders that you have an assignment due or something like that, or to give you confirmation that you've registered for the class. We will not spam you. We're not going to share your information with anybody. We're not going to continue to send you emails after you've, well, we'll send you 1 or 2, but we're not going to send you a whole bunch every day. If you get 2 in a year, that'll be pushing it. So you've created that account. All right, I'd like to register for this class. You're going to see 3 potential messages. The first of which may be, all slots currently full, registration will begin at X time. If you are helping a learner try to register for a class, if you yourself are trying to register for a class, if you see this message, this means there are no current openings in the class. This is kind of a confusing message because it looks like, well, registration is going to open. But there aren't any openings. Even when registration opens, there aren't any openings. Registration opens every 2 hours on a rolling basis, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And so the best time typically to register for a class is 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. For you guys are 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon for you guys here in Texas. Monday through Friday. Don't try to register on the weekends because the instructors don't work on the weekends, so therefore no students are being graded and then everybody's just staying where they are. So if you're trying to get in, those are the best time, little inside information to try to get into the class. What you're going to want to look for is this, either limited slots available, registration begins at X time, and we encourage you very strongly to be in front of your computer at that exact moment. I have seen slots go in seconds because limited slots available may mean 2. So we just encourage you to be in front of your computer, to be able to click on that button as soon as you see this, be able to register now, and registering for a class. Again, not a lot of information being asked of you here. The most important thing is that you need to watch the orientation video. The orientation video will give you all of the information about those assignments, about the deadlines, about what's expected of you as a student in the class, about the message center, how you can communicate with your instructors. It gives you all of that information. Once you've completed this information, you've watched the orientation video to its entirety so that it becomes complete and the submit button becomes live, then you are able to access your class. And you can start that class that very same moment. You can start working your way through all of the different lessons. Maybe you already know Excel pretty well, and maybe you already kind of breeze through all of this introductory stuff in Unit 1, and you go ahead and submit your assignment that very same day. So in that sense, it's self-paced, where you are working on the lessons on your time, after work, during lunch breaks, after the kids have gone to bed. But those deadlines are going to stay the same. As soon as you log into your class the very first day, you'll see assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3. You'll have a date, you'll have a time. Those do not change. They are static. A lot of our system is automated, obviously, because we want to work to keep things free. And so if, for whatever reason, you're not able to submit your assignment on time, life happens, we understand it, that's no problem. The system will drop you, but there is never any penalty for being dropped from a class. You can immediately register for the class if you'd like to that very same day that you got dropped. We actually get feedback from learners all the time that will say, this was my 3rd time and I finally got it. The most I ever saw was, this was my 9th time and I finally got it. And I was like, wow, I can't believe you stuck with it 9 times. But that was important to them. That was important to get that certificate, to get that CEU. They wanted to be able to put it on their resume. They wanted to be able to take a picture. They wanted to print it out, that certificate, and they wanted to show that they had succeeded, that they had completed that class, they had done it. The certificates and all of the transcripts will be in your account as long as you have an account with GCF Learnfree. So all you have to do is log in. You see your certificates right there. You click on online class transcript. You can see all of this. We even have a complete package which includes the certificates, includes the transcript. It also includes a letter of verification that would describe the program to any employer or anyone that you would need to prove what you had done and the accreditation process of GCF Learnfree. Is there anyone in here that actually needs CEUs for professional development yourself? It's free CEUs. It's a lot of teachers use us for CEUs, for their technology CEUs. So spread the word. If there's anybody that you ever know that is, always running out to the wire, or, you need to get a CEU in the next 2 weeks kind of type thing, this is where to go for those kind of type situations. So an example of certificate of completion, like I said, we've got people that will print it out and take a picture and post themselves on social media. They're so excited about it. They want to share their excitement about having earned the certificate of completion. So I gave you that stat earlier in today's presentation about that we served 7 million last year. We're on track to serve 30 million in the coming year, and that's talking about self-paced curriculum. This number is slightly smaller. But obviously you can understand that we can only accept so many people every week. We have 9 part-time instructors. We serve about 1,300 students a week. And each student typically spends about 10 hours in a class to be able to work their way through the lessons, to be able to submit the assignments. So it's a smaller reach, but obviously a much more meaningful experience. Again, I've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, but again, if you have people that are interested in getting a job, getting a better job, if you know any of those people where this could be of benefit to them to be able to add to a resume, then point them in the direction of the online class program. And we do require an end-of-class survey, and so this is the stat that we get from our students that do feel that the class does it does currently help them in their career or will help them in the future. All right. So are there any questions about our online class program?
This is very new, right?
I'm sorry?
When did it start?
We've had it for 8 or 9 years. Nobody knows about it. It's the best kept secret on our site. We don't really promote it because we are always full. And so we really can't. It's on the bottom of every page of the website, but it's not on our homepage on one of those big tiles. It's kind of buried. And so we kind of have to work to keep it a secret. And increasingly the word is getting out because it's more and more full nowadays. But feel free to use it, of course. I'm not discouraging anybody from using it, but until we get more instructors. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So you can't earn like y'all haven't like partnered with Microsoft where you get an official like Microsoft certification.
Right. It's not that. It's not the Microsoft certification program. We get that question a lot, and what we will say is that our tutorials will certainly help someone prepare for that certification, but that certification does kind of go into macros and some more advanced kind of type topics, so you would still need to probably get some training elsewhere from another provider or something like that. So we can help you prepare for that certification, but it's not an equivalent to that. That's a good question. Yes, ma'am.
You might have already answered this, but how many approximately students can sign up for these classes at once?
We have 1,300 at any given time, and the system really does just kind of drop people, and as people are dropped from not completing their assignments on time, as well as people who have completed the class and now they have moved on, making a spot for someone else. Typically we say 1,300. Another interesting thing, and this is something I never really get into, but when I say 1,300, it just means 1,300 slots. It could be all Word 2013. It's not slots for each individual class. And that's because Access is less popular than Word, and so it just really is just very fluid with whoever wants to take whatever class, because all of our instructors are trained to be able to grade all 9 different classes. So we don't have instructors that are just for certain classes. We also don't have instructors that are just for certain students. As you work through the class, you may correspond with all 9 different instructors at some point. You may have one that grades your assignment, but maybe you ask a question in the message center and somebody else will answer the question. So it really is a group effort. You have all of these different instructors that are corresponding with you, but they're all obviously grading based off a key to make sure that grading is consistent, to make sure that you're getting consistent feedback. Was that answering your question? Yes, sir?
So when it says that it's full and you register now, you're not, like you said, don't register.
Right. Yeah. It is very confusing. I know. Yeah, just come back later. Like I said, typically, probably early afternoon, Monday through Fridays are going to be the best. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir?
So on assignment deadlines, they're usually at 9 a.m. or whatever.
It is
always Eastern Daylight or Eastern Standard Time?
Whatever you see is your time zone.
Oh, okay. Does that automatically?
Yeah. If you're in Australia, it's whatever you see in Australia. So and it's exactly, if you registered your time 2 o'clock, your assignment is 1 week from that point at 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
2 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That's how it's done. And a lot of people don't notice the time, and they just automatically arbitrarily assume midnight. That, it's the day, and you have all day to do it. And so we'll have people that'll say, I got dropped and I had until midnight. I'm like, no, you got to look at the time too. So it's whatever time you registered, that's the time of the deadline too. Mm-hmm. Other questions? And if you think of any more, let us know.
More.
Yeah, sure.
Where does the money come from to do all this?
Goodwill stores. Goodwill stores specifically in Eastern North Carolina. We got 36 of them.
The revenue you get from the stores makes all this happen.
Mm-hmm. We are 100% supported by the stores. We don't receive any grants. We don't do fundraisers. We don't get corporate sponsors. It is 100% the 36 stores in Goodwill Industries of Eastern North Carolina that makes this possible.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And we do other programs for that matter too. We have We support lots of boys and girls clubs in Eastern North Carolina. We do lots of different grants to organizations in Africa, South America, Asia. So we're 100% completely self-sufficient, which means that we can kind of do what we want. That we don't have to, you know, sometimes when, what's the curriculum that everybody hates? Core, what? Common Core, yeah, there you go. Sorry. That is when Common Core came out, that was a question we were getting, you know, like, oh, are you going to be addressing Common Core? Like, no. Why? We don't have to, so we don't want to. And we're able to teach how we want to teach. We teach, and interestingly about the staff at GCF Learnfree, I'm actually the only person that actually has an education degree. We have a classics major, we have a music composition major, we've got philosophy, political science, and it's all because we love teaching, and we're all just intuitive teachers. We teach ourselves first. When we're approaching a topic, we learn it first ourselves, and then because we just went through the process of learning that topic, then we are familiar with what we just encountered as challenges and what we first wanted to know and what we thought was most important, and that tends to resonate with some learners, with our learners. Other questions before we move on? We already talked about this briefly, but just to again let you know that I think this is incredibly relevant here in Texas, and it's very relevant in North Carolina as well, that if you do have any learners whose native language is Spanish and they still want to learn technology, reading, and math, to let them know that this is available. As I mentioned before, it's not exactly all the things that you will find at GCF Learnfree, but it's very similar to the topics that you will find at GCF Learnfree, and to certainly point them in this direction. We also have GCF Aprende Livre, which is a Portuguese site. I don't know if you have any Portuguese in your community, but if you do, let them know about this resource as well. And this is specifically Brazilian Portuguese. So any questions about any of the things that we've talked about curriculum-wise? I'm going to talk to you very briefly about how it's kind of used out in the wild. So we've kind of talked about this in an indirect way, but one thing that I always think is really interesting, and I may be preaching to the choir here, is that I think when people hear that Computer Basics is our #1 tutorial, they automatically assume, oh, well, just senior citizens, right? No. That we all know that there are people that struggle with technology for a variety of different reasons. Maybe they've never had access to it. Maybe they did have access to it, but they were just always uncomfortable, and now they have gotten to the embarrassing point of their life where they are going to have to face facts that technology is going to stick around, and they're going to have to learn it. And so you can see that there's a variety of different applications for GCF Learnfree for a variety of different people. Obviously, we're from Eastern North Carolina. We serve people all across the country. Most of our learners do come from the United States, but we have a large number of learners in India and Pakistan. Obviously, most English-speaking countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United Kingdom, South Africa. But we are literally in every country. We did actually have 3 visits from North Korea last year, so I don't know why. I think they were probably just checking to make sure that they still were going to block us. I don't know. Most of our learners are going to be independent learners, but we also do serve organizations like you. Again, I would talk about the lack of marketing at GCF Learnfree. Most of our learners do come to us because of a Google search, but also because of service providers like you, getting the word out, letting them know about this resource, and just word of mouth, people that have discovered it on their own, and then they're telling, they had such a great experience with it that they're telling their friends, their family, people in their community. This is fairly self-explanatory, and we've probably touched on it a number of times throughout today's presentation. But again, just reiterating that you can use this how you want to use it for whatever needs you have in your life. you kind of touched on this earlier, and I kind of want to talk about that, is that people respond to the way that we teach. It's not going to be for everybody, but that's fine because we're not trying to be everything to everybody. We really try to strike a very conversational tone, a very approachable tone. And that's the feedback that we get from a lot of our learners is, I never felt like I was being talked down to. It was clear, it was concise, it wasn't full of jargon. I felt like I had a friend sitting next to me teaching me. I didn't feel like you were the teacher and I was the student. And so I think that is something for people that have maybe had negative experience with education in their life, to be able to finally sit down and feel like they're not being talked down to, that they're not being made to feel embarrassed that they don't know something. So that's something to keep in mind. So we have a lot of organizations that use us. Interestingly, we don't know all the organizations that use us because we are so free and open, and you never have to create an account. You can use us and never let us know. So there are a lot of organizations out there that we don't know about, but we do know about 1,000. I've got a list of about 1,000 people that use us. I was looking through the list and I was like, oh, I'm going to include that. I'm going to have to definitely include that in the presentation. And then everyone on is actually here today doing a presentation. I can't remember if it's after this or actually concurrently with this session, but we're actually part of the Everyone On program, and they're here presenting as well. And so this makes sense. A variety of different organizations use us in a variety of different ways. One thing that is interesting is we're increasingly being used in prisons. We're very excited about that. Again, that offline site, being able to get in when a lot of, online education is huge right now. There's a lot of free online education resources, but nobody's or very few are figuring out how to get into the prisons because if you can't access the internet, then you're not able to get to the resources. So we're very excited about that. We are in all of the prisons in Ontario, all of the prisons in New South Wales. We've got a prison in South Africa. We are really into all the Idaho prisons. So it's interesting. And then it's scatterings from here and there in different communities. So we're really excited to be able to get into those areas to certainly help that population that if they've especially been there, for a number of years, technology is really passing them by. And once they get out, what is it going to be like for them? And you brought this up as well, as being able to access it later, that it's not just at your organization, it's not at your library, it's not at your school, it's not just at the prison. It's not behind a walled garden. When they leave, they can get to GCF Learnfree anywhere they have access to the internet. So that's really a benefit of using GCF Learnfree, that continuity, that website will always be there for them. So how can you use GCF Learnfree? This is probably the most obvious one, but being able to just use our curriculum in existing programs that you already have. Being able to kind of almost use us as a textbook, whether you are teaching a very traditional class where you are the teacher and you have students that are all working at the same pace, or perhaps they're all working at their own pace at GCF Learnfree and you're as the moderator in the class. You can use part of our curriculum combined with curriculum from other sources. Mix and match, do whatever you need to do to make this happen. GCF Learnfree is there for you, however you need it to be there for you in the programs that you have for the people that you are serving. We have curriculum guides available under our Educator resources. This will help you kind of make connections between our tutorials to be able to kind of create a curriculum from multiple tutorials around our website. We have different ideas and suggestions for best practices, for assessments, for assignments, because that is something that you won't find at GCF Learnfree, is assessments for assignments. That's not something that we focus on because it's not something our learners typically want or ask from us. And so it's not something that we spend a lot of time doing. And so that's a question that we get a lot from service providers. We have some quizzes for some tutorials, but we do have in our curriculum guides some of those ideas that may help you create those assessments. just be word of mouth. Just let people know that the resource is available. I have flyers up here, postcard, business cards. Take them, spread them around, do what you would like to with them. On our website, under the media kit, there are downloadable flyers for you. There are PSAs, there are video PSAs and radio PSAs. Do whatever you see fit in your community to get the word out about GCF Learnfree, and just let your people know that it is there for them. And then I've kind of mentioned this a number of times throughout today's presentation, but this is for you. It's for your colleagues. It's for your staff. If you have upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 8, and now you really want to get rid of Windows 8 and get to Windows 10, then we're here for you to be able to make that transition. If you just recently went from Word 2007 to Word 2013, 2016 is getting ready to come out, and we'll be on top of that as well. So all of those type moments in your day-to-day work lives, GCF Learnfree can be there for you as well. So, one thing that I will say also that I didn't list in that is that we do actually have service providers that are using our online class program, okay? It's something that you would have to contact us about. So if that's something that you see that you're interested in, that you have a group of people that you would like to try to register all at once into our online class program, then you can contact us and we can work something out with you. Because obviously you can't do it because they would all end up being registered at different times and things like that. So we can help navigate that if that's something that you want a class to be doing it all at once, all together, and then at the end they'll be able to get that certificate from us. Then email me, let me know that's something you're interested in. I'll put you in contact with the head of that particular department. So that's another way that you can use GCF Learnfree. Are there any other questions? Because we're getting ready to go into kind of the computer lab portion. Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you can access the Spanish version again.
It's GCF Aprende Libre. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm probably butchering. No accent there. Sorry. .org. .org.
And one other question.
Uh-huh.
Did you say there was a ESL piece, or just say there was a people group, a refugee people group
Mm-hmm.
from Burma.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be helpful to them, or is there a modification?
It could be if they already have a pretty basic understanding of English, and I can point you in the very specific place on your computer here in a moment where that would probably it would be if it really is Burma. Okay. Okay, but I'll show you where to find that on the website.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You were talking about the prisons, and I assume that zip file is some sort of facilitator for the prison systems, or?
Oh, the prison systems? Yeah. So any individual that's working with that population can contact us.
So does that apply to just anybody that just wants the zip file version that's not prison?
We don't typically give it out to individuals.
Yeah.
But any organization that needs it for whatever reason, then yes, I can either give you access to the links to be able to download the zip file. Typically for prisons, I go ahead and just give them the flash drive. But yeah, typically for organizations, we don't give it out to individuals. But yeah, if you're associated with an organization, yes, sir. Other questions? Well, I invite you to now. Let's see how much time are we at. Okay, 15 minutes, that's good. All right. I made mention of a couple of things today, and you probably jotted down something that interested you, that you wanted to look at once we had time to explore at the end of the presentation. But these are some of the things that I think are especially interesting, that may be unique, that may be different from other things that you may find at other online education websites. So our mouse tutorial, there are a lot of mouse tutorials out there. Ours is the best. No, it's not. But ours, I like ours. I think ours is really, really on point. The typing tutorial, the Excel formulas is highly interactive, especially look at the Pizza Party Panic interactive. It's fun. Everyday Life, ATM interactive is the most popular at Everyday Life, but feel free to explore. The grammar videos, the homophone interactive, and then the algebra. These are the things that I think are really some of our just kind of most unique things. But then, you know, look at the stuff that we're most popular or most known for, the computer basics, the Microsoft Office, things like that. Feel free to look at those things as well. And, you know, so make sure, I guess, John, there are surveys and whatnot to complete.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
not that in a minute.
Okay, that's fine. So as you go ahead and can start to explore, look at things. If you have questions, call my name out, Jessica. If you want to come up here and get flyers, grab those. If you thought of a question that you should have asked earlier, ask away.